Hello and happy Friday. So, as promised, here is a quick help on number 22 for your Heredity unit practice test. Now, I told you that this one was going to require a little bit of explanation because the answer to finding whether or not the lowest, or not the lowest, but the third generation here, the answer to figuring out the genotypes of these two individuals in this third generation, it depends. Now let's take a look at the very first cross that you can make. Generation 1, you have homozygous dominant and heterozygous. So if you do this cross and you use the Punnett square over here to do that, you wind up with this. So that means generation 2 has, each individual has a 50-50 chance of getting the heterozygous dominant genes or the homozygous dominant genes or the heterozygous genes. So, here's what you probably do. There's 5 kids. There's not an even number of kids in generation 2. This would be a whole lot easier if there were just 4 kids, and I could put 2 of them as homozygous dominant, 2 of them as heterozygous, and I'm done. Problem is, there are 5 kids in generation 2. So yeah, easy, 2 of them get homozygous dominant, 2 of them get heterozygous. But what about this guy? What does he get? The only choices are heterozygous or homozygous dominant. Here's where the it depends comes in. If you decide that, because of this, if you decide that the guy, or the son, is going to be a homozygous dominant, this becomes your cross. So you have a 100% chance as a member of the third generation, you've got a 100% chance of having the poison ivy immunity gene, which is dominant. So if in your cross you decide that the dad over here, sorry, I got to put it on the camera. Sorry, this is really hard to do backwards because it looks like a mirror. If you decide that this dad right here is homozygous dominant, you cross it with a homozygous recessive, the kids are going to have a 100% chance of being heterozygous, which means both of these individuals will have the poison ivy immunity. Fine, there's your answer. But if, because of the results of this cross, you decide that the dad is heterozygous, then it looks like this. The cross between the dad and the mom, if the dad is heterozygous, comes out like this. Mom is homozygous recessive no matter what. But dad, in the case of this cross, what if you've decided he's heterozygous? Now the offspring has a choice. Either 50% of them are going to come out heterozygous, which means they have the poison ivy immunity gene and they can help. But there's a 50% chance that an offspring is going to come out homozygous recessive, which means they don't have the poison ivy immunity gene and they should not help the neighbors. So the answer, it depends. The genetic identity of these two individuals all depends on what you assign for the genotype for this individual. And that's again based on the cross of his parents. Here are his parents. He either comes out homozygous dominant or heterozygous. And you have to determine what he gets. If you pick homozygous dominant, his kids will come out all right for the poison ivy gene. They will be immune. If you choose for this individual heterozygous, then his kids have a 50-50 shot. So the answer is entirely up to you. Just make sure after you decide the genotype for this individual, you do the correct cross, getting the correct results for this generation, and you should be all set. All right, have a good time.